It's warm down here. It's hard to breathe. It's burning my eyes, Lord. So hard to see. I'm quite parched now. I need a saying. Come quench my thirst, Lord. Because you're like water for the thirsty. I drink. You're like water for the thirsty. I drink. You're like water for the thirsty. I drink. Water for the thirsty. I drink.
It's like water for the thirsty. Truthfully, our souls parched. You will find them when you seek them with your whole heart. It's so hard to stay consistent through the word I'm reading. Cause the time is coming soon when every eye gon' see him in the clouds above. This is about a love that quenches the thirst, but the world offers is not enough. Taste and see from this fountain spring, you'll be lining up to get a drink, refreshing ink flowing out of cups. This life they gotta touch, you liberate them out of cuffs. The faith is undivided trust, created us up out of dust. He's worthy of fresh well of living water for the thirsty. Give an honor the first thing that I do when I'm waking up. It's everlasting life to all who desire to drink it up.
Like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. Like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. Hard weekend, it left me high and dry. I've been going through the ringer. I need you in my life. Time seems crazy. I'm stranded in the desert. This life gets so hot. I need a sip of you, God. Cause you're like water. You're like water when I'm thirsty.
Of our conversation, how this thing works. We're trying to get to know Jesus for real, and we together using a Bible reading plan to go through the Bible. You can download it from the App Store of your choice, Android or Google Play, the iOS or Google Play, or you can hit me up if you like old school hard copies like this. We go through the reading plan, and then we come together and talk about it every first and third Friday. It's been working out that on third Fridays we have the guys, and on first Fridays it's ladies' first Fridays. And it's just been working out that way. We didn't design it that way, but we're rocking with it. We're going with it. And so tonight with us is Orlando Boyd and Bradley Tramel, part of our regular crew for third Fridays. So we're gonna dive in and get into it right now.
All right.
Our readings since the last time we met have taken us through the book of Luke, Ezekiel, Psalms, and did I miss anything?
That's it.
We haven't touched Daniel or anything since the last time.
Not this week.
Alright, cool. So yeah, so that's where our conversation is coming from. It's coming from our insights, our questions, the things we struggle with, the things we wrestle with, the things we liked, the things that personally affected us in the readings as we are trying to get to know God better and share perspectives on the readings and the things that are important or that stood out to us or the Spirit is leading us. Our system is real simple. It's study, we read together. It's inquire, we ask questions of the things that we read. We come together, we dialogue, we seek application on it. So it's not just in the air. It's how does this thing work in real life, and then we share those perspectives with ourselves and each other. As you are looking on, we invite you to join the conversation in the various chat rooms, and we're following it here, and so we can include your conversation, your feedback into our conversation. With that being said, Orlando, I was overhearing a couple of things that were standing out to you from the readings this week. I didn't hear everything, so tell me again, start over, let me know what's good.
Well, I mean, I got a lot. First of all, good evening. I got a lot from Psalm 78. I mean, I was talking about what I read in Luke 16. Psalm 78. I mean, this is like, to me, it sounds like one of the Gospels, or one of the, like, David ain't necessarily a prophet, correct? He was a king. I mean, a servant of the Lord, but these sound like Daniel and Ezekiel and Jeremiah in 78, as opposed to little songs and just complaining and crying or thinking. You're giving some strong warning messages.
Psalm 73?
78.
78. Now, is that David?
Well, you know what, is it?
No, it's
Nope.
Asaph.
Nope, that's not. Maybe that's why it sounds different.
Asaph was the king, was the chief of the musicians while the children of Israel were in the wilderness.
Well, there you go. That's why it didn't sound like David, because it was not David. Well, this dude Asaph, or whatever his name is,
Right.
he was dropping some serious knowledge right here, man.
Right.
I mean, a lot of different stuff jumped out at me. It tripped me out right here when verse 4 say, well, let me see. I'm gonna start beginning if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Verse 1, give ear, O my people, to my law. Incline your ears to my words, to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. We will not hide them from their children, showing to the generation to come the praises of the Lord and his strength and his wonderful works that he hath done. For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers that they should make them known to their children, that the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who should arise and declare them to their children, that they might set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments, and might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation.
We're in the Psalms today. Yeah, perfect. Orlando's getting stuff from the Psalms to encourage you. Perfect.
A generation that set not their heart aright, and whose spirit was not steadfast with God. I mean, now I skipped over 28. It was more so, I guess, we're being given information based on, agreements and covenants God came into with people thousands of years ago. You know what I'm saying? We're benefiting that promise. We're benefiting from that promise. And the secrets, the truths that are being revealed, specifically to me. When I read the Bible now, I know these people probably didn't know exactly what they were saying when they wrote it down back then. But the mystery of God and how he operates, it just makes me even more confident that the direction that we're moving in is the direction we're supposed to be moving in. Even if we look crazy, you know what I'm saying, in the process of getting to that point. I'm gonna jump to 28. I'm gonna read 28 to 30.
That's awesome.
What's that?
No, what you just shared. That thing about even if we look crazy when we get into that point, at least we're heading in that direction.
Heading in the right direction. But I mean, that's what this is, an instruction manual. I mean, you gotta break it down. You go to IKEA. I'm sure everybody got something from IKEA. Come with all those different parts.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna sit down and really just try to put it together. Most men would, man, I can figure this out. You're gonna have something left over if it's from IKEA. Best bet is to sit down with the instruction manual. Put all the 1,000, million, billion pieces of right, everything right there, and take your time and follow the directions, and put the shelf or the bed together right. As opposed to having a drawer that's a little lopsided because you skipped a chapter.
Right.
And the instruction manual, you know what I'm saying? You speed reading, you know what I'm saying? They don't benefit you in the end, unless you take it for what it is. And I'm gonna shut up after this, but 28.
No, you good.
And he let it fall in the midst of their camp, round about their habitat. Okay. Talking about God giving the children of Israel, the flesh and the manna. He said he let it fall in the midst of their camp, round about their habitation, so they could eat. He gave them their own desires. They were not estranged from their lust, but while their meat was yet in their mouths, the wrath of God came upon them, and slew the fattest of them, and smote down the chosen men of Israel. He didn't keep them from, they were not estranged from their lust. But while they were still eating, while they were still consuming this blessing that God gave them, and he wasn't keeping them from doing whatever they wanted to do, his wrath came upon them. And he slew the fattest ones and smote down the chosen men of Israel. That stood out to me. Because, I mean, if you're chosen, how you get smoked down?
You just pulled all the cameras out, right? You just hung up all the
That's scary, man. To be chosen and still get smoked. Why you eating the chicken? You know? You got the sandwich in your mouth. He like, oh, no.
that on live.
For all this they sinned, still and believed not for his wondrous work. Even after all that, they still kept sinning and believed not. Therefore their days they consume in vanity and their years in trouble. But after he slew them, then they came running. Because oh God, we was tripping. Man, please don't do that no more. You know what I'm saying? Please don't slay us. Why we gotta go through so much hard flipping headed? Hard headed, man. And you know, it's the same thing Ezekiel 20 talking about. What's Ecclesiastes? Ezekiel 20. The hard headedness of the children. Is it Ezekiel 20? Yeah, Ezekiel.
That we read this week?
Yeah. Talking about he just kept, he bore with them for his name's sake. He didn't destroy them in the sight of the heathen for his name's sake. That he picked them, that they tripping. So because he's who he is, he preserved them. But he punished them. Little by little, he kept letting them do what they wanted to do. I'm going to give you over to, I'm going to let you have your own laws. You want to do this, you want to do that. Man, I'm right here, but you want to do your own thing. Watch where it take you. It's going to take you further and further away from you. But then he brings them back around in the end. That's the best part about that jump to me. He lets us know, man, what are you going to do with us? When we sit down in that wilderness place one-on-one, children of Israel was all out there together, and they were still tripping. They didn't want to see God and all those great acts he did. Parting the Red Sea, giving them chicken, you know, with biscuits. You know, with some biscuits. And they had a fountain that...
It was angels' food.
Said it wasn't angels' food.
It was not?
It specifically. Or what your version say?
Men ate angels as food. He sent them food to the full. Verse 25. Psalm 78. Same thing as that. What's yours say?
You know something that's crazy? I looked at that about 4 times earlier, and I could have swore it said it was not. And he rained down manna upon them to eat, and had given them of the corn of heaven. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full.
Not only that, but the thing that caught out of me in 78 is verse 15 and 16, where he's talking about he split the rocks in the wilderness and gave them drink in abundance like the depths. He also brought streams out of the rock and caused waters to run down like rivers. The reason why that stuck out to me is because I've been to a rock quarry before. When you split a rock, you just get 2 smaller rocks. You know what I'm saying? And even the split with the rock is exact. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't like crumble. If it's a solid rock, it ain't gonna crumble. When you split it, it's just gonna be a crack through the rock, and then you're gonna have 2 halves of a whole solid rock. But when Moses struck the rock, from within that solid, dense mass of earth came depths of water that came out like rivers. You talking about the children of Israel, the nation. You know how much water to fill them up? That means that thing was just spouting. Think about a solid rock, like a piece of a mountain. And that drink is just spewing water out. Spewing. And he spoke to it the first time to fill
thousands.
No. Not just the thousands, hundreds of thousands. The complaining hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
The murmuring hundreds of thousands. This is a steady miracle, just like the cloud in the daytime and the fire at night. But you got water just coming out of a rock. Like when I read that, I was watching it happen. I'm like, just watching a rock spew out water, but you know that it's just a rock. There's nothing feeding through the rock. It's a rock that's just spewing out water. It's like a burning bush almost. The same type of fascination I have with that. It's like with the rock that's just spewing out water.
I should have read this whole chapter for real. Because when you stopped at 17 and they sinned yet more, he give you a rock that's a river that has the ability to produce a river, and yet you still keep tripping.
Oh, the name
More.
of this chapter is God's kindness to rebellious Israel. So, I mean, the whole time Asaph is documenting the miraculous works of the Lord. But then he goes back and says, but y'all still went out and lunched out. And then God did this, but then y'all still did that even more. Even where you ended. He said he gave them angels food and gave them chicken and the biscuits and all that. And he said, and the wrath of God came against them and slew the stag. It only came when God put his hand against them. They said, okay. All right, where you at? We serve you again. It had to happen like that.
Sound like us?
Yeah, it does.
When he slew them, they sought him, and they returned and inquired early after God. You know what I'm saying? When she and they remembered that God was their rock, and the high God their redeemer. Nevertheless, they did flatter him. They did flatter him with their mouth, and they lied unto him with their tongues. That's some dangerous stuff right there, man. How does it apply to us?
I mean, I highlighted stuff from this chapter because I loved it because it was a nice little summary of the whole Old Testament that we've been reading almost up to this point. Right? It's like he was summarizing the whole Old Testament for the most part. But the parts that I highlighted, the stuff that you all said, in spite of all this, they kept on sinning. In spite of his wonders, they did not believe. For they did not trust in God or trust in his deliverance. They did not keep his covenant. They refused to keep his law. They forgot what he has done, the wonders they had showed him. They continue to sin again and rebelling against the Most High. But the part that I liked as well, but I say that to say that there's a pattern that no matter what God did, they did what they wanted. And it was just a pattern of them, and he would love on them, and then they would do whatever. But I liked how it started, that he decreed and established his laws, this verse 5, in Israel, and he commanded our ancestors to teach their children so that the next generation would know him, even to the children not born, and they would turn and tell their children, and they would put their trust in the Lord and not forget his deeds and not forget his commands. They would not be like their ancestors. So he even set up a system in place to keep them in remembrance. He's like, tell your children, talk to your children, and they tell their children so that everybody knows what I did. Everybody's aware. And, they would put their trust in him, but it didn't work out that way. Because even though they knew, but these guys didn't tell them. And so the new generation was far away from it. It was kind of like us in church, Our parents just told us, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. But they didn't really tell us about how God had led them. They didn't really tell us about how God had provided for them. They didn't really talk to us about their experiences with God. They just told us, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. So we serve in this God that we don't really know. And then we turned out to rebel against him until he smacked us up in our rebellion, and we turned to him and go, oh, that's who you are. And you're merciful to me? All right, I'm going to pay you some attention. But, we kind of have those own way tendencies. So after he makes us comfortable for a little bit, we go and we do whatever we want to do a little bit more, and he smacks us upside the head again and catches our attention, and it's that recurring pattern.
Let me ask about that, because I'm exactly what you said. I got a little quote here from I had Easy White quotes up in this thing, and she summarized it by saying, there was ever a remnant who were true to Jehovah, and from time to time the Lord raised up faithful and valiant men to put down idolatry and to deliver the Israelites from their enemies. But when the deliverer was dead and the people were released from his authority, they would gradually return to their idols, and thus the story of backsliding and chastisement of confession and deliverance was repeated again and again and again. So I'm like, if this is a constant cycle that's repeated, how much more magnified is the blood then? Because if this is destined to happen, you see how much it happens with I've long been past the point to look at the children of Israel with judgment. Like, man, them dudes tripping. They can't never get it right. I see so much of me in them that it's scary. So I'm like, all right, so now my mind goes past and beyond the cycle. I'm like, so when does the cycle become null and void? When am I all good? I'm all good when I learn to lean upon the Lord, even in the good and the bad. Because he knows that the cycle's coming back around again. And I can see that joy happening in my life. And sometimes I can see it preemptively and pray ahead of it, pray ahead of time, but then still fall into it. And when that happens, I'm like, man, how much more filthy do I have to get before the Lord finally wipes his hands clean of it? And the thing is, he doesn't want to do that. He came to save that which was lost. That's what his blood was spilled for. It's for that. And so I guess it's really up to us to just to wrap our minds around the fact that the blood was enough to cover all that. Because that's what it keeps pointing back for me.
Right.
And when I realize that, then my only attitude or my decision after that is like, anything he wants me to do, I'm with it.
Right.
Because apparently it don't matter how bad I am. If he asks me to do something, who am I to refuse it?
Right.
Because he's shown me so much mercy. So, and speaking on that, that like segues perfect into like what happened last Sunday, Slim.
Oh, you about to
We was in the studio and this is just a brief testimony. We came in there and we both didn't feel like doing nothing.
Right.
We both didn't feel like doing the show. Matter of fact, I had in my mind like, if you don't show up, I'm canceling. Because I just don't feel like it. But we got up in there. We had the willing spirit just to sit down. We're going to see. We said we're going to see what develops. We just going to see what happens. And by the end of the show, the Holy Ghost had clearly fallen. Had clearly moved. We were both, our attitudes had done a complete 180. We were more thankful than regretful. We looked back in retrospect and said it took all that just to get here. So now what that does is prepare us for futures. Like when it starts getting rough right before we do something like this, or something like what we do on Sunday, it's like, okay, well, we know what the rundown is now. We know we're about to be taking shots.
Right.
We know we're about to be facing explosions from bombs. We're getting in there anyway. Why? Because the Lord says, I got you covered on all that. I already know your cycle. I know your cycle. But I'm covering you. Will you do what I asked you to do? I'm like, yes, Lord.
You said in your notes that the people behaved when they had a deliverer or redeemer, as long as they had one.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't that like point to this? If they only behaved when they had this deliverer or redeemer, then it's kind of necessary to maintain a deliverer or redeemer who wouldn't die, right?
Yeah.
Who goes on forever and ever and ever perpetually.
That's right.
To kind of keep them together and guide them.
Man.
That's what God shows us, that as much as them people messed up,
Man.
he brought them back. You know what I'm saying? And they messed up again. It got to the point where he cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath, and indignation, and trouble by sending evil angels among them. What was we? Yeah, that's 49. I jumped ahead. But he get to talking in between 40. How often did they provoke him in the wilderness?
Mine
and
says a band of destroying angels.
A band of destroying angels. It's pretty much the same thing. But he sent them. He sent them. That's what tripped me out. He sent them. He got so frustrated. He smote all the firstborn in Egypt. You know what I'm saying? He gave him a rundown of what he did to Pharaoh's people. And after all of that, he allowed his people to go into captivity. Nobody sneak up on the children of Israel and take them from underneath God's nose. He said, y'all want to keep on acting like y'all ain't got no sense? Go ahead over there with the people that ain't got no sense. And become like them. And I'm going to give you over to your own, whatever you want to do for you. Since you don't want to listen to me. But, 65. Mm-hmm. Then the Lord awake as one out of sleep, like a mighty man that shouted by reason of wine. And he smote his enemies in their hinder parts and put them to perpetual reproach. So he still got our back.
He did that, and he's not to jump too far ahead, but he did that in Ezekiel when he had the judgments against the different cities. He's like, y'all, because you sat back and laughed because Judah was getting hammered, and because Jerusalem was and Samaria was getting hammered, because you were sitting back at this, what I also have something against you. He would talk about how he would tear them apart, and I was like, man, the Lord just speaking on Ezekiel alone. That was like we were discussing before we got on camera. That's like one of the roughest books to read, because like straight off the jump, what were we in, like 18, 19 chapters, 20 something chapters,
26. That's
all these judgments against these cities, God just had enough of it. But what the thing that got me is the fact that how I'll say this, I was able to see my frailty when he talked about, it was Ezekiel chapter 16. And I'm telling you, we talk real in this thing. He was describing something that was almost pornographic. When he was talking about Jerusalem, how he found them when they were in their blood, how he raised them up, he dressed them up, set them in a place for them to do his will, but then they played the harlot with everybody around them. And not only did they play the harlot, he was like, you did worse than that. A harlot gets paid, but you gave yourself to anybody who would pass by, and then you gave them money to mess with you. So you were supposed to be set apart, but yet you hoard yourself out to everybody else for their... And the thing when he's talking about idolatry. Like idolatry was that. It's like, it's the first commandment. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. And I'm like, when we put... Like, I had to sit back and say, Lord, what am I putting before you? Like I think about it. Like what do I consult or look at before I talk to God in the morning and before I talk to Him at night? He should start the day and He should end the day. If there's anything else that happens, I'm putting it before Him. So I'm like, look at my fantasy football scores. How do you put that away? Matter of fact, I just cut my phone off. I leave it in the charger, but I cut it off so I can't see the notifications that came up when I sleep. When I started doing that, I was like, okay, Lord, all right, the only thing I put before you now is I have to use the bathroom in the morning. But other than that,
I could take you
yeah,
with me.
yeah, exactly. I'll talk to you before. But I mean, it got me to that point just to analyze, but I have to reanalyze because I've been at this point before. I've identified things that I put before the Lord, but just as the cycle is talking about, I'll do it for a while, but then after a while, I'll start backsliding again. I'll start looking at other things and not considering Him or considering talking to Him about certain things as much as I used to. And then He'll allow a little bit of daily life oppression to hit me, and I'll turn right back around to Him. I guess in my case, I look at it as not as extreme as the whole nation of Israel because they lost lives, like plagues and pestilence and stuff hit them. Like people came in and raided and took. That hasn't happened to me, but I could still see the little things like in minor facets how the Lord is working. Say to guys, say, okay, you went off the path now, come back over here, hold my hand. You know, just stop letting my hand go. You know, so
I just wanted to acknowledge Rusty and Rondell and Zarita who are online with us. Good night to you guys. As you mentioned the Ezekiel, because you tied into Ezekiel, one of the things that stood out to me was how upset God was about what they were doing inside the temple.
oh, that's why. That's look like that's right where I am.
The things that they were doing at the various stages of the temple, in the outer court, in the inner court, and the whatnot.
Chapter
And then-
8, 9 through 17.
And then I think about, because I'm thinking application now, when the temple gets torn, and now we collectively and we individually become the temple of the Holy Ghost, I'm wondering about the kinds of things that I have going on in my temple, in the space where God should be.
Oh man.
And I'm wondering, well,
Man.
if He's that mad, He said, you see what they're doing inside there?
Yeah.
You see what they're doing inside there? Come, I'll show you even worse.
Yeah.
And these guys are scrawling stuff on the walls.
Yeah.
And these guys are doing all kinds of stuff. And I'm thinking, well, man, when I do this thing here, is that me all in sharing that space where God's supposed to be dwelling? And it just kind of made me, think and wrestle with that. Vanessa, can you turn up the gain a little bit? They're saying that they can't hear online. Can you also check to make sure I don't see the thing bouncing?
He would say, look again. Worse.
Can you hear me? Can you hear us now? Can you hear us now online, Anisha? All right, good. I think we said you can also turn the gain up just a tad. Hopefully we don't laugh too loud and it doesn't become distorted. All right, cool. All right, good. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to take the momentum out.
But look, I got a quick testimony, right? Now, where is it in the Bible it says, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight? Oh Lord, my strength, my redeemer.
Somebody online Google that and see where it is so we
the
can
words of my mouth.
Yeah.
Well, I got that text sent to me. What was that? Tuesday morning?
Yeah.
When I told you, Lord told me to go to Anacostia Park?
Right.
Tuesday morning, right? So that was the text that this young lady sent. But at the end of the verse, if I had my phone, I could look at it. It said OJ, right? Like it was for me. So I texted her, I said, did you mean to put OJ at the end of that text? She was like, nah, I wouldn't even know it was there had you not brought it to my attention. So it said, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable. So naturally I started thinking, because I ain't gonna go in there, we can talk about this off camera, what actually led up, but the Lord told me I need to go to Anacostia Park.
They said Psalm 19.
Psalm 19, exactly what it was. Psalm 19:14.
19:14, cool.
So y'all was present when I told y'all about
What's up, Darryl?
the Lord telling me to go get the dude that was laying down or whatever the case may be. So he told me he needed to go to Anacostia Park. And I'm like, I bet I'm going to Anacostia Park. I was about to go to Anacostia Station anyway. I was like, I can walk to the park. I was telling Brad, I thought there was a way for me to get to the other side of the water by way of a bridge, which wasn't there. So I'm just walking. As I'm walking, he's telling me, pray for the people that's coming past me, right? Try to say this as fast as I can. Pray for the people that's coming by, people in the cars, people walking by, praying for them, asking the Lord to forgive them of their sins and save them when they come. Now here, I'm tripping because I was all the way wrong day and night before. And he's like, man, go. So are you gonna go? Like, are you gonna do this? I had a couple opportunities to cut up and go over it, like either Douglas Bridge or Pennsylvania Avenue, and not walk all the way to the end. You know what I'm saying? But I went on down. When I got by DC jail, he was like, you can see DC jail across the water. He was like, man, pray for the people in the jail. So I'm praying for specific. I don't know nobody. Well, I might know a couple people over there, but I don't. At this time, I'm just praying in general for the people over there. He told me to lift my hands up. I ain't want to be standing out that joint with my hands up, you know what I'm saying? So I tried to make it look like I was working out a little bit. You know, the arm rotation. I didn't want nobody to He was like, nah. He was like, hold your arms up towards like Pennsylvania Avenue. So I had to do it. And he was like, pray for the people. There was a school bus going by. He was like, man, pray for the people. He just telling me to pray for people. I'm not praying for me. I'm talking to him in between seeing people. He's like, keep walking. Man, I went to the other side of this little bridge. It was a log and had paint on it that said, enter at your own risk. That's what the log had paint on it, right? So naturally that intrigued me to go further. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see what's in here if it's a risk. Kept on walking, talking to the Lord. I ain't seen nobody now, I'm just walking. You know, I'm trying to find stuff in the woods that the government might have put there, you know, it's just all dense wood. You know, I don't trust nothing. But as I get underneath East Capitol, I ended up walking all the way to East Capitol Street.
That's a hump.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm walking, talking to the Lord. I wasn't even tripping because I had some water. And I was all right. And, man, I'm standing underneath the bridge. And this is the crazy part, Joe. I come from underneath the bridge. I'm like, all right, so I'm about to hit East Capitol Street, just go hit the Stadium Armory and jump on the train and go handle my business. I see this dude walking with this yellow, like, reflective vest on. So I see him. I was like, the park police had just rolled past me on the bike. I seen him 3 times. I prayed for him 3 times. Every time he passed by me, this was the 3rd time, Man, Lord be with him, forgive him for his sin, be with his family, whatever the case may be. I'm like, all right, I did what you wanted me to do, I guess. So I'm leaving. I look down there, I see the dude, I said, be with him and whatever's going on with him too. And he's like, that's your assignment. The dude who was down there, I'm like, oh my goodness, here we go. Now you want to say this. This is my assignment, right? So I'm like, he's like, so what you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? You gonna talk to him? I said, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go over here and sit at this park. And if he comes over to me, I'll have a conversation with him. He was like, all right. I went and sat on the bench. This is what the Holy Spirit told me to do. He said, close your eyes like you're praying. I closed my eyes. But when I closed my eyes, I could see the dude walking on the trail. I envisioned him walking on the trail. He was slow walking, you know what I'm saying? He was tapping the J, you know what I'm saying? He was going through a lot, come to find out. But Holy Spirit was like, he's going to be looking for somebody praying. So stop looking like you're praying and start praying for him. So I started praying. Specifically, I was like, man, I don't know what he's going through in his family. I don't know what I don't know. I'm praying for the dude. And I hear the leaves rustle. I look up at him. He reaching for the bench like, man, you mind if I sit right here? I sat back. I was like, man, I guess you're supposed to be here. So I said, man, is everything all right with you? He said, man, I'm good. I'm all right. I said, look, man. I said, God told me to come here, right? Because apparently you got something you need to talk to me about. So I'm asking you this again. I said, you good? He was like, man.
What?
Yeah,
That's what I said to him. That's what I said to him. He was like, man, nah, I'm not good. He said, man.
When I grew up.
He said, things is crazy at home. You know what I'm saying? My mom's tripping. He's taking care of his 3 little siblings. He's 20 years old. Didn't get to finish school. He was bad because he didn't get to finish school. He didn't have no transportation. Everything was falling on him. So I stopped him. I said, look, let's have a word of prayer real quick. So I asked the Holy Spirit to be in a conversation. I just laid into him with my testimony. I told him that God was going to empower him to deal with everything he needs to deal with in life beyond this point. I know for a fact God's going to take care of this and the other thing beyond today. I'm going to skip to the end. I texted brother later on that evening. I was like, what's up, little homie? You all right? He said, man, yeah, big homie, I just got my car. So the next day, I was like, man, so what's the deal with this car situation? Somebody said, man, he heard a program on the radio, sweepstakes or whatever, so he entered to win the joint and qualified for 2017, something he only had to put $500 down on the joint. So that was one big stressor in his life that was immediately removed.
Wow.
Immediately removed.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, say I was in the right place the day before, I wouldn't have been able to get to Anacostia Park. say I didn't think of myself as even being worthy because my breath probably stunk. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want this dude looking in my eyes and saying, "Oh, this joker tripping." But the whole time I was tripping. That's why I was able to hear the Holy Spirit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna leave it at that. My brother name is Khalil. Pray for him. You know what I'm saying? Young brother, 20. Look, the joker. When I looked up, he was on the way to sit down. I stood up at the end and had prayer with him. This joker like 6'5". I was like, "Yeah, you a big youngin', Joe." I said, "Man, look, get in the gym." I said, "Get big," you know what I'm saying? Because you're a soldier for God now. You know what I'm saying? And he gonna use you. Man, he's just looking at me like, he looked like he wanted to cry, but he wasn't gonna let a tear drop. You know what I'm saying? Probably Southeast dude, you know. But I saw straight through all of that. He tried to look at me like, "Yeah, so I'm good." I said, "Look, man, God told me to come here." You know what I'm saying? And I asked him. I said, "Were you praying about something?" As you was walking up that trail, he was like, "Yeah, I was asking God for somebody to talk to." I'm gonna shut up.
Wow.
I could have kept it moving. He said, "That's your assignment." So I went and sat down. I said, "You bring him to me and I'll talk to him." And he brought him over there. Man, I could have, and I already paid for about 30 people. I'm good. I'm going to the train. I got work to do. I was supposed to be cutting grass. You got me mistake, man. You know what I'm saying? What's the purpose of, you know what I'm saying, catching fish when there's men out there that need to be caught?
Do you hear him like that? Does he talk to you like, not to tell you to,
like,
not to tell you to go and talk to random
him,
people, but just like giving you instructions. Do
there are times when there's times when he's done that. Not as often. Like,
do you hear him like that?
It happened to me last Saturday.
I don't.
But it wasn't
not like that.
strangers.
Not like that. Not for that. Not like that. Not for that.
See, like, I know with me, my situation, there has to be something strange.
Does anybody online hear him like that? Does if you do just say I do or I have or
mine are like, I can go through times when I can remember times when I obeyed him word for word and did it, and I can remember times where I was like, "Am I tripping?" And I didn't do it. And then a day later, 3 days later, a week later, it comes back, and you realize that
Made a mistake.
See, he knows at this point in my life, I'm expecting him to do something. When he tell me to make a move like that or go somewhere and I don't know why I'm going there or get locked up when I shouldn't be in jail, I'm expecting him to do something.
Yeah.
You gotta do something. What you got me walking through Anacostia Park for? And you know I'm trying to go to work.
that is don't. Yeah.
He knew what my plan was. I was gonna get on the train, Anacostia, go to Fort Titan, you know what I'm saying, go to Brookline, get the car, go to TA, cut the grass. He said, "Go to Anacostia Park."
It's the switches. Like, for instance, when it happened with me this past Saturday, it was nowhere near the level it was with him. I was leaving Sabbath school from teaching at DuPont. I was on the way back home when I got the strong notion from the Holy Spirit to leave and divert and go out to my parents' house. Now, that's 11 o'clock. 11 a.m. They should be at church.
Yeah.
And while I make the U-turn to get back on the highway to head out there, I had the thought in my mind. I said, "Man, I left my phone charger at home. I was planning to go to church. I say I need to run back home and grab some stuff." And I was about to turn around again. But then as I was about to get out the lane, I heard the Lord was like, "You think there ain't no charger at your parents' house? You think that whatever you left at home is that important?"
Yeah.
He was like, "Just head out there and I'll take care of everything else." And when I heard him say that, my mind immediately shifted from stop being concerned about whatever I got and I started thinking expectantly. I was like, "Oh boy, what's about to happen today?" And when your mind switches like that, it's like, "Oh man, something about it." You are in anticipation of the Lord moving.
Yeah.
And when that happens, when you find yourself in that, I'll put it to you like this. And I just told O about this the other day. I was reading the story of the 10 lepers. It was covered. 10 lepers. The Lord, they shouted to him from afar off, "Unclean, Lord, have mercy on us." You know what I'm saying? Jesus' response, as it is written in Luke, it was short. I think he said more than that. But he was like, "Go show yourselves to the priest." You know what I'm saying? And then it says, while they went, they were healed. And that line, that statement, while they went, when Naaman was asked to get into the Jordan, his pride was hurt because the prophet didn't come out to meet him. But it took that little servant girl to give him some words of encouragement, and he went down in that water 7 times because he realized his prior state was worse than the state he was looking forward to being. And that's what drove him to it. When those lepers was running away from the Lord. They was running to the priest. It's like, man, Jesus ain't even come over to us. We done heard all these stories. He healing people, touching people. He just said, go holler at the priest. I was like, we ain't need to talk to him to go do that. I'm sure that all rattled around in their head, but it doesn't say all that right here. But this is what the Holy Spirit's telling me when I'm reading this chapter. He was like, but they looked at their hands, they looked at their feet, they looked at each other and saw their condition. They was like, he said, go show ourselves to the priest. Hey, bruh, we ain't got nothing else to lose. Let's just go show ourselves to the priest. And as they went, they were healed. Bruh, when I was headed out to my people's house for no reason at all, I pull up in their driveway, both of them home. 11 o'clock, they should be at church. I go up in there and get to talking to my mom about some stuff I ain't going to bring up. But the Lord gave me words to speak to her situation that I had no idea of, had no plans on talking to her about. And when I finished saying whatever the Lord wanted me to say to her, I had the sense of, not accomplishment, but I was satisfied. Because I was like, man, the Lord did something to that. Because I heard she received what I was saying because it was from the Lord.
So, we have 2 people online who said that they've heard the Lord speak to them like that. And I just wanted to shout out Auntie Alva. This leads me to something that I wanted to ask you guys all week. Because I did hear God speak, but it wasn't to give instructions to do anything. Alright? So I read Luke chapter 16, verse 10. And I guess I'm starting there because, Orlando, you were faithful in something little. Walk here, go there, do this, do that, and you just kind of followed along. So he could enlist you and Bradley and Kenrick from time to time to do stuff. I don't feel like he could enlist me because I'm a little stubborn, I'm a little hardened, and I'm not as faithful in the little things. So this stood out to me because it says, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. Whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. So, oh wow, dishonest part is now anyway, I'm going to take a page from you guys' book and be transparent. There's some things in my life that I need to be diligent with that I am not as diligent with. I don't call my older son as often as I should. I'm not diligent, I'm not faithful with that. There are many days where I don't want to floss and I just want to brush my teeth, and so I'm definitely not faithful with that. I'm supposed to post in the Water for the Thirsty group every day, Monday to Friday. This week I only posted on Friday. I mean, life got in the way and I just wasn't faithful with that. I'm really trying to cut back on eating meat.
Same here.
This week,
same here.
Wasn't faithful with that. I ate all kind of meat this week.
Same here.
Just I'm staying little things. Supposed to get up at 5 a.m. This week the alarm came on. I put it to 6, and then 6 went to 7, and I didn't get out of bed till 7. Just all week, Monday to Friday. Some friends invited me to be a part of this push-up challenge. I didn't publicly accept because I knew I wasn't. I knew I wasn't going to be faithful. I was going to be held accountable, right? And so I tried this week. I did 50 in the morning. Say I'll come back and do 50 later in the day. I think I did 70 for the week. It's supposed to be 100 a day. And so I'm listening to this, and so when I read this, it sits on me how my week has been, and I go, all right, I'm in bed. I'm trying to go to bed early tonight so I can do better tomorrow. And I say, Lord, help me with all the ways I've been unfaithful. And he says, exactly how do you want me to help you? Like it was an audible voice. Exactly what do you want me to do for you? So I stop and I go, well, I want you to give me the strength. And then that verse in Peter comes on. I've given you everything that you need to do to live a righteous life. Let me see if I can find it. 2 Peter, I think it's 2 Peter or 1 Peter, the beginning of the chapter, one of the Peter chapters. And he says, everything you need to live a righteous life has been given to you, right? So that's what comes to my mind. So I'm like, what do you want? I say, all right, well, I think about Al talking this week about the Holy Spirit and praying for the Holy Spirit. I say, all right, well, give me the Holy Spirit. I say, I already did that. You have that already. So what do you want from me? I'm like, well, dang. So what do I pray for now? Like what do I ask? I don't really have an excuse. You know what I'm saying? Everything that I need, and what it did is made me think about my prayers and think about, well, what am I actually saying? What am I actually talking to God about? What is the conversation that I'm having? And am I just praying mindlessly? Lord, help me. Help me how? Help me to do this. well, you have everything, so what else can I do for you? I can't do anything else for you. Right now, this is all on you, Jared. There's nothing I can do to make you go and pull the floss out. Nothing. I can't. You heard the voice tell you should do to floss, and you said, like, I'll do that in the morning. But that's what you said to me. I'll do that in the morning. And in the morning, I'll take care of that. So right now, I just want to go to bed, and that will take an extra 10 minutes. That's an extra 10 minutes. I'm not in my bed. And I'm having this conversation in my head while I'm flossing. There's an extra 10 minutes. Just floss. So I get up and I go in my bed. Like, what else is he supposed to do there? What do I pray for in that moment after he's provided the escape, after he's said, do this, like. And so, that's what I wanted to ask you. What can I pray for now? Because I'm not sure what or how to pray, because I've been conditioned to ask God for stuff. And so I'm not sure at this point what I'm supposed to be saying. I mean, I did
just in general, or specifically about the things that you asked for?
In this moment, now that I'm in this place where I am not being faithful in little, right? What's the conversation I need to have with God? Since I've already asked him to help me, and he said, I've given you everything you need. Now what is there a conversation still to be had? And what could it be? And how do I continue to pray? Because I felt like the prayer ended there. That's what it felt like. And so I wanted to know, well, somebody else help me, give me an additional perspective, give me something else to consider.
There are many inconsistencies that I can look back, especially on a day-to-day basis, say, man, I should have done this and I should have done that. To sit back and have the mindset of constantly day by day, shoulda, coulda, woulda, tends to put me in a position to concentrate more so on my frailties and my weaknesses. When I do that, just like when the disciples were at the bottom of the mountain, when Jesus took the three up top, they were focused on their weaknesses, their inefficiencies. When I pray to the Lord, I ask him, I was like, Lord, please help me to discern what is important to you and what would strengthen my relationship with you. Let me not so much focus on myself, but keep my focus on you. Because this is what I find out what happens. When I focus on the Lord more, then he's the one that reminds me to do all the minimal stuff that I forget to do in the first place. And it'd be little stuff. Like, I'll be leaving the house and there's something on the counter that I need and I'll forget it. Or if I do wake up in the morning, the push-up thing, I've been trying to do that too. He's like, well, you got to do this for like a solid week for it to become a habit in your mind. Then when you wake up, you automatically think, this is what I'm supposed to do. I was like, okay. He's like, well, why? Right after you talk to me in the morning, then after you do that, let's get down and do some push-ups. It's when I talk to him and plan with him throughout my day, that's when he starts bringing things up. But it's when if I start like to focus, I say, man, I missed on doing that, or I missed on doing that. Then he's just sitting there like in the corner with his arms folded. He's like, okay. So when I say, it's not about me when I pray to him saying, Lord, help me to remember this stuff. It's like, Lord, he's like, you know what I'm trying to do. And I know it says that Christ is more concerned with this, and he's not worried, but he's more concerned, and he looks after us more so than our own mother and father would. So I think about how much my mother worries about me, and then like the little stuff. When you're growing up, your mother says, pick up this and do that. So I'm like, if Christ cares more than she does, and he's looking at me with intense interest, wondering and seeing how I'm going to act in every instance of my day, and then whether I'm going to include him or not. So I pray to include him more in my day, and when I do that and stop focusing on everything that I need to do, then he reminds me of it.
What does that sound like? What does that sound like?
In the prayer?
Like, yeah, in the prayer. What does that sound like when you say include? I mean, I'm praying to include him more in my day. What does that sound like?
In the prayer. Well, if I'm being specific, I talk to him just like I'm talking to you right now. I'll just be like, Lord, you know what I got today. You know the many things on my mind that I want to accomplish. The small things that I want to accomplish just to help me take care of your temple. Like, so if it has anything to do with health, it's like, I know I shouldn't be eating this much meat. I know I should be drinking more water and eating more vegetables. And the crazy thing is that when I started praying that prayer, when I go to the grocery store, I'll be walking past the frozen foods aisle, the dessert aisle, like, nope, you don't need it. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I'll just keep moving. And I won't have any regression or regret about that. So it's just like, I'll kick it with him and talk to him. It's like, man, I'm trying to, get myself right in this area. You know what I'm saying? Or, I have this much to do. Like, it's a focus. Like what I told you about with Russia. I told him, it's like, man, I'm trying to speak Russian. But that, I've only gone on and, like, looked at a lesson maybe, like, once or twice during the week. And I'm like, Lord, I want to be more proactive in my faith about the things that whatever in my life would help me be a better servant for you, bring them to my mind. Give me the wisdom to discern that throughout my day. Because all in all, if whatever I'm doing is not helping me be a better servant to the Lord, then it's of no work.
Exactly.
So I'm hoping. I know I'm not putting this thing like in actual verbatim exactly.
No,
but it's conversation.
So what you said, it makes sense because I think we cop out to prayers. Like we cop out to help me do this because at that point it takes it off of us.
Yeah.
You're just like, Lord, help me, whatever. Stop eating meat, or work out every day. So that sometimes it's like, well, if I don't work out, it's like, well, you're supposed to be helping me.
Yeah.
As opposed, and you're right. And like the question that God asked you was like the perfect question. Like, what else you want me to do?
Yeah.
At some point, it's on you.
Yeah.
You have to take responsibility for doing it, and you can't put it on me. And then, to what Brad says, and I don't know if he can give you anything verbatim. You're gonna have to,
I was just trying to figure out what it's all like.
But it's the conversation, so that the relationship changes from you saying, or me saying, Lord, help me do this, to, all right, I'm doing this. I just need you to remind me and keep more accountability. Like, keep me accountable to what I want to do for you.
Last tidbit to add on to that, I also have less encounters where if I miss something and in that moment of decision of doing something that I know I'm slacking on and not, I don't have as much regret. Like looking like, man, I should have done that. Now I messed that up, and now I ain't gonna be able to do it. It's less of that. So now because I told the Lord about it, it's like getting up, what is it? Righteous man fall down 7 times, get up 8. I look back and it's like, man, okay, I messed up. Well, if he gives me life again tomorrow, we're gonna take another crack at it. Every day he gives me life, I'm taking another crack at it. I'm not gonna look back in retrospect. It's like, man, I got all these mess ups, all these dot. There's all these failures. I'm not gonna look at it like this. Like, okay, I'm still talking to him about it. Eventually, I'm gonna get there because he ain't gonna leave me nor forsake me. So because of that, eventually, I'm gonna get there.
Darrell says, asked if I considered, or we considered, probably mostly me, a new heart, asking him for a new heart. And he consider Ezekiel 36, and he shared the verse, Ezekiel 36, 26 and 27. A new heart I will also give you, a new spirit I'll put within you, and I'll take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and give you a heart of flesh, and I'll put my spirit in you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you shall keep my judgments and do them. Actually, no, I did not ask for that. I have a playlist that includes that, and so that was one of my prayers. I just haven't been praying that in a while.
I think next time God asks you, like, what else you want him to do, or what else can he do, pray for somebody else. Ask him to do something for somebody else. And he's going to be the one to put the thought in your mind. I don't see where you're not faithful in little things, or at least you know yourself better than I know you.
You just say you don't floss.
Well, I mean, and that's going to come back around, because if you worried about your teeth, right? But you're not worried about your teeth because you don't want to floss. So the Lord say, what else you want me to do? This might sound crazy. Pray for somebody else with bad teeth. Pray for somebody you passed by on a train whose mouth is jacked up. Lord, do something with their mouth. You know what I'm saying? Help them to take care of their gums and teeth better. That might encourage you to go ahead in the mirror and ask, hit them guns for that 10 minutes. I mean, practically, pray for somebody else, which will, I think, make you a little more attentive to.
I did land somewhere. I landed on, thank you for being patient with me, and please don't take your spirit from me. That's kind of where I ended up.
There's always a day to give thanks.
That's where I ended up. I was like, okay, well, I'm like you said, I messed up. I can't really do anything about it, and so please, don't give up on me yet. I'm gonna try and do better tomorrow, and I went to sleep and try it again the next day. But I was just curious as to hearing other people's perspectives. What could I have said in that moment? What would you have said in that moment? That's what I was curious to ask. So yeah, that was me this week. That was me.
And maybe there's nothing to be said.
Maybe there is nothing to be said.
Thank you.
Give praise, just like you said. That's the best thing to do.
Tomorrow's a new day.
Floss. Just floss, man. I didn't even know people flossed anymore. I don't floss.
Flossing takes so.
But I got this
Long.
big gap. So
Yeah,
it's like,
long. You know when you have a long
I'm
day.
I'm with you right
It's
there.
like,
Oh yeah, I'm right there with you.
them bristles do enough.
He said the bristles do enough, bro.
Derek, how's the reading been treating you?
It's good, man. I don't really have anything too much to add today. I've been tired today, but because I think I texted you, I was like, I wasn't sure if I was even gonna come, and was tired. And I was like, let me go. And these two things that y'all mentioned,
All right, up your alley.
right up my alley.
Sweet.
What about verse 9?
What's that?
What about verse 9? You said verse. You quoted verse 10. I think verse 9 is very.
What chapter?
Luke 16. And I say unto
he
you,
mentioned-
make to yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when ye fail, they may receive you into everlasting habitation. Now, this that servant that, wasn't doing the right thing, and in order to gain back the good graces of his master, he went and, allowed some people's bills to be a little less. So break that down. What is that? What's happening there? What is going on with this servant? What is he doing?
Oh,
Luke 16. Same joint you asked me.
Oh, the whole time I had a question on?
1 through 16. No, 1 through.
No.
Hold on, the shrewd manager.
So in him going and forgiving, certain people that owed his master money. For him going and making it so.
Was this the one where he said, where God promoted shadiness in order to advance the work?
Man,
of God?
I want to think about that. That's Jah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to put it on God like that, but that's what it said to me.
That's what he said.
What did it say? What did it say? I mean, that's what it said to me. You know what I mean? Look, man. He said,
I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain your friends, so that when it is gone, you will be welcomed into eternal dwelling.
where you read that at?
That's number 9.
What did it say? Hey, what
I tell
reading?
you. Oh, I'm using NIV.
Oh, okay.
I tell you, use worldly wealth. So, verse 8: the master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. For the people of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than are the people of the light. I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it is gone, you will be welcomed into eternal dwellings.
Use worldly wealth again. I don't see that. And I say unto you, make to yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness. That says money of unrighteousness. That when you, all right, what the dude did was he forgave some people. He allowed them not to owe as much, in hopes that because he knew his stewardship was going to be removed, he'd have some friends on the other side of the track in the event that he had to go on the other side of the track. And say you get fired, you got to pick up some work. You want to know somebody to know what to do with that work, or somebody got somewhere to put that work out there. You know what I'm saying? You want to make sure you got somebody who can help you with your next phase in life. The fact that he did that and his master saw fit to forgive him because he took the initiative and was like, you know
Did
what?
he forgive him?
Well, he commended him.
You commended him.
Okay, he didn't forgive. He
He
acknowledged.
still lost him up.
Okay, so he still wasn't a steward. He still wasn't a steward no more. But at least he was acknowledged as doing something decent before he got fired.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it aided him for what's going to take place now that he's fired. I think the Lord is saying, look, like I said, we do the world so dirty sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Because they're the world, or because they owe God this big debt in our eyes, as opposed to us going to them and giving them Jesus. You know what I'm saying? To secure their debt. Let them know your debt's been forgiven. You know why? Because God's son, the boss's son, master's son died for you. You understand what I'm saying? So you ain't got to worry about that bill. Matter of fact, cut it in half. Because I'm in control of this. I'm going to let you just cut it in half. Man, appreciate, like I did you a favor. Nah, Jesus did it. I'm just letting you know he did it. So in the event that I don't make it, or, you know what I'm saying? If I get to a point, I'm like, oh, Holy Spirit, you ain't even with me no more. Hey, Slim, remember when I did that favor for you? I need you to look out for me, bro, because I'm broke. You know what I'm saying? I need some work. And they're going to put you to work. And God I think he commends the worldly dude.
Understand the story.
I mean, it jumped out at me. I mean, I had to put some thought to it.
As well.
It just never, and we'll talk about it. And I'm just like, this don't make no sense.
I don't come out with it.
I think, and Orlando's kind of helping me get it for the first time, really, because I get lost in the details of the story.
I didn't get any of that.
And not the point of the story. I get lost in the details. The man was dishonest, but what I see was he took stock of what his situation was, what his reality was about to be, and he thought about the next phase of his life. I think that's the phrase that this thing the light to come on. It's the next phase of his life. And so because he was shrewd in this phase of his life in preparation for the next phase of his life, Jesus is using that the left idea of dishonesty to demonstrate the shrewdness of being prepared for the next phase.
So is that like having the gift of gab, like, and turning tail?
Nah, he ain't really working nobody.
Into now souls?
Not quite.
Because
that's just...
I go out there and I'm hollering every chick, and I realize that that's not what God wants me to do, but now I can take that same gift of gab that I use for evil and now promote his kingdom.
That's slightly different, because in that instance, all you're doing is repurposing, a skill or someone. What this guy is doing, regardless of what you do, I think that's what I understand the point to be from Jesus. Regardless of what you specifically do, you have to recognize that you're in one phase of life and there's an end coming to it, and there's another phase that's going to begin.
Right.
And what you do in this phase is going to impact that phase. I need you to be as shrewd in this phase in preparation for that phase as this guy was. That's what I understand Jesus to be saying. I need you to be as shrewd in this phase, whatever that looks like for Kendrick.
Why?
Because
I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourself, so that when it is gone, you will be welcomed into eternal dwellings. Huh?
I don't. You don't need to read that version no more, man. Nah, for real, man. It just don't sound right.
It goes on to the verse 10, the same verse.
Whoever is faithful,
Whoever is faithful in little things will be faithful in much. Whoever is dishonest in little things will be dishonest in much. So if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? True riches are what are going to come. So it's more taking into account of eventually you're going to have this other phase in life. What are you doing with what God has entrusted to you right now?
When I read this,
that doesn't make it. I'm just trying to tie it into. So Amplified version says, "And I tell you, make friends for yourselves by means of unrighteous mammon," meaning deceitful riches, money, possessions, so that when it fails, they, or those you have favored, may receive and welcome you into everlasting habitations or dwellings. I don't see how that's being faithful.
I would say the least.
I don't understand the faithful describing.
He's not saying be deceitful in your use of worldly wealth. He's saying be as shrewd in your use of worldly wealth.
Yeah, you're gonna stick to something.
The least, in my opinion, the least here are the people that were forgiven by the steward that was wrong. You know what I'm saying? They're the least. He was faithful to those least by giving them a break. So when he ain't a steward no more, he ain't gonna have no problem with at least them people. It's telling you, in my opinion, it's like if you're gonna make friends with worldly people, make sure they got some money. So in the event, this might sound
I hear you.
This may sound crazy.
I can't argue with you.
It says, and I say unto you, make to yourselves friends of the mammon of the unrighteousness. I mean, you can't serve God and mammon. He goes on to say, it's not like you're really focusing on their money. You're still focusing on God. But I don't have to, like the chick you was talking about. Say she was a stripper. You know what I'm saying? And she had some money, but you're not trying to get at her for her money. But the only reason she's stripping is because she's about to be a doctor. Which would you rather kick it with in public, a stripper or a doctor? I mean, I'm not asking you specifically because you're married. And I know you don't really want to answer that question. But
no, I mean, in public, you would rather kick it with a doctor who was a stripper.
You would. I would.
Not a stripper. Not a stripper who's a doctor. That's.
I was probably the wrong analogy. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, you can't judge a book by its cover. You got some people out here that they just doing what that's all they know. You know what I'm saying? And they're looking for something. If you come at them wrong, like they're wrong for what they're doing, when God sees fit to save them, you might need some help. But they're looking at you like, man, nah, that dude, he called himself a Christian, but he ain't even want, you know what I'm saying, stand with me on the block for 15 minutes and answer my question about why should I have to go to church on Saturday. Oh man, read your Bible. It's in Exodus. You know what I'm saying? You're doing the wrong thing, so you're going to hell. That's not necessarily what the words say, though.
Daryl is co-signing you. He says, helping folk that are going through struggles like yours may help you get out of the jungle yourself.
There it is. There it is right there.
Struggling to see it.
Have you been in the jungle?
The door's not opening.
You might have to get in the jungle first
Door's
to
not
really
open.
see it.
Well, since we're in this chapter, let's crack down on 19.
But,
Go ahead.
yeah. I'm saying that
I'm trying to connect all the dots.
with finishing the story all the way to 14 or 15 help.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Well, you got a different version.
Shoni says
Yeah,
from the other side of the room,
Right.
your money is going to be gone sooner or later. So use money to gain friends, so that you can gain their favor and struggle with them toward heaven. Now, verse 14 says, the Pharisees who loved the money heard this and were sneering at Jesus. He said to them, you are the ones who justify yourselves in the eyes of others, but God knows your heart. What people value highly is detestable in the sight of God. What I'm asking is the whole section between verse 9 and verse 14 are connected to the story that's before. Do those verses help to shine any light on what Jesus was trying to communicate? The verses was that 10 through 15. Because it's all a part of the same discourse. It's all a part of the same conversation. It's not a second or secondary part. So I'm wondering that Luke included that part in it. You know, these other words. There's words about being trustworthy. There's words about being faithful. There's words about serving two masters. Do those help to shine any light on the story, any? Or does it make it more confusing?
I mean, my simple understanding is kind of like what Shoni said. You know, I mean, I can't see it. I don't see it saying go out here and do the same thing that these people are doing to get that money. But if they have money and you have the opportunity to have a relationship with this worldly person, this unrighteous person, because they're unrighteous, don't let that be the end all be all. Because we're all unrighteous. All our righteousness is filthy rags. Don't think so highly of yourself that you're looking at this other person like they're beneath you. But then if you're going to deal with them, it's only because they got money. I don't think that's right either. That's why the faithfulness comes into play. You know what I'm saying? With the least of these. You know, you treat them like you treat the ones that's esteemed high. You know, I mean, I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's like, if you know, a lot of jokers that got money in the street, they don't trip off their money. You know what I'm saying? They'll come out on the block, give a couple, man, little joke ain't got no shoes, let's go buy you some shoes, we're gonna get you some clothes. You go to church, man, you ain't getting nothing. You gotta go to a meeting, you gotta sign, you gotta fill out a sheet, you gotta find out, they need to know your background, where you from, you got any charges, you know what I'm saying, before they take you to dinner or put some groceries in your house. And then the dudes in the street, Joe, you know what I'm saying, they come through and they give it away. And I don't know, I'm starting to learn something different about a lot of these guys, because a lot of them, they're not no different from us. They just, in their opinion, they don't waste their time going to church because it's too phony. I've gotten this from a lot of people that's, what you would think stuck in the street or stuck in the world. Nah, they just waiting on the church to get themselves together and come get them. Ecclesia, you know, people got to get together and make a move. The building ain't going to go nowhere.
Right.
What happened? I said something wrong? She'll just shake her head no.
I think she's trying to join the conversation from across the room. I don't know if you just come on, sit down, and you can't. I guess I'm asking, Jesus goes on to make some statements after he tells a story. So he tells a story, and then he makes some summary statements. And the summary statements seem really disjoint from the story, because the story is about the shrewd guy, right? And the way he handled his situation. But the statements at the end are about being faithful to God and faithfulness with wealth.
Think about
and maybe I'm focusing on, like, I'm having a hard time. The subject of the story is the shrewd man. That's where the emphasis is. And so I'm trying to figure out how we get to all this from a guy who he wasn't looking out for anybody but himself. Like the only reason why he positively affected everybody else was because he was just trying to take care of himself.
Man, you're supposed to work out your own salvation with fear
why
and
did the
trembling.
Pharisees deride him though?
Was that?
Daryl asks, why did the Pharisees deride him though?
Who, Jesus? You gotta be talking about Jesus.
Can you clarify the question, Daryl? Verse 13 stands out uniquely to me. It says, no one can serve two masters. Either you'll hate one and love the other, you'll be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money.
Okay.
He wasn't so stuck on money that he was willing to say, all right, you about to get fired. I know you owe me $100. You know that I owe your master $100. You owe him 50. You owe him 75. You about to get fired. They don't know that. I'm like, look, man, master say he about to step you gonna add 25% on that. You owe me an extra $50. And once I get that money, I roll out. But I might give my master something, but I took off the top. What he did now, he said, look, man, since I'm going out the door, I'm gonna do you a favor. I'm gonna cut you a break. You ain't got all of it, give me half. You know what I'm saying? In hopes that when he see that dude again on the street, dude look out for him.
Yeah, no, I
don't see
get
what's
it.
wrong.
No, I guess we get that.
That makes sense.
Between that and all that happens after that.
With Jesus saying you can't serve God and money.
Right.
Well,
Talking
Well,
about
for
the
me-
Pharisees loving money.
Correct.
The dude straight up, he didn't love money. He didn't care about the money per se. You know what I'm saying? If that was the case, he'd have took all the money that they owed. He cut it in half. He gave them a discount. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't tripping off the money. The Pharisees want the money. He said, hold on. How you going to speak against money? That's how we get down. We can't function without money. And they had the bread of life in front of them. They tripping off money.
Right.
but this
on,
dude
man.
was bad at his job.
Who?
The steward, the manager. That's
did
the
something
reason
wrong.
why. That's the reason why he got like he was terrible at his job, and then he gets disciplined for it, and as he's getting disciplined for it, or finds out he's going to be disciplined, fired from his job. He's like, I gotta look out for myself, and I gotta look at myself. Not only am I bad at my job, but now I need to make sure that I'm taken care of when I get out, so I can take, so these people can look after me if I need a gig or, I need help, I see them on the street, whatever. So I'm going to cut all their debts.
Right. But I think one of the point, I'm going to read your comment.
There's nothing valuable about this dude right now.
Right. No, but Jesus isn't commending him for being dishonest. He's commending him for being shrewd in understanding his situation and understanding the change that will be effected.
Yeah.
And to use that level of shrewdness in your own situation, but being faithful to God. He's not saying be dishonest. He's using the dishonest as an illustration.
I don't see what he was
Shoni
dishonest.
says, or to you, Orlando,
Really don't.
they don't want to do the work in the church to change it, so they leave it to the people in church to struggle in error. By cutting them a break, he took it for his own profit.
Oh, say that again?
He didn't take it for his own profit.
By cutting them a break,
Well, I
took
guess
it
technically.
from his, he took it
He took
from
the loss.
from his own profit.
Yeah, he took
Yes.
the loss.
took
He
the
put
loss,
the
yes.
difference to it, I'm sure, because he still
Who
owed
took
his master $100.
Who took the loss?
I mean, the word don't say that.
Yeah, he didn't take the loss.
The master took the loss.
The master took the loss.
Listen.
That's why he did it.
If he said-
it had nothing. There was no effect to him.
He said, how much owest thou? And he said 100 measures. He said 100 measures a week. He said, okay. He said, take that bill and write 4 score, which is 80. Take your bill, write out 80. Who to say he didn't come out of his pocket, which that ever does?
He did.
And give his master 100. Who's to say he didn't?
But he didn't.
He didn't. He was giving the guy a discount.
He was giving the guy a
He still gave him a
discount, and the
discount.
The
master's
master's not going to know anyway.
he's not. Well, no, he's gonna know,
But
and he's not. He's gonna know because he's like, you owe me a G, and you gave me 800.
But no, not really, because the manager is the one who filters that. So it's at his discretion.
Yeah.
The bill is whatever the manager says.
Exactly. And he reserved the right to keep it at 100 or make it 80. So maybe he didn't come out of pocket with it, but he's still allowed to do the break on his way out the door.
Correct.
I'm gone. I don't have to give you no break. I should raise the taxes and take some more
Correct.
before I go.
But I will. So as you guys are talking, I do get the shrewd. Like if you're going to
What
be
does shrewd even mean?
shrewd's just like it's
Savvy.
savvy,
Clever.
cunning.
I think that one of the words I
Sharp.
saw. You said cunning.
Wise.
You
What is wrong with you?
It's not just you, man. You know what you're doing. You know what you're doing, man. But you're making a lot of sense, though. And it's an interesting twist. It's an interesting twist. Is he saying that?
Yeah.
Is he
That's
saying
just
that?
you gotta dig deep for that one.
You got to be. What does it say? What the word say? You got to be wise.
My Bible
as,
here says,
wise as serpents and
worldly
harmless as
gains
doves.
should not be used to satisfy the desires of this world. Instead, they should be used for the things that are of eternal value. These followers of Jesus will be welcomed either by friends whom they have helped or by God Himself, who will reward them for their generosity.
For the wealth of the
So
wicked
the
is stored up for
idea,
the
so
righteous.
the idea is that you should be, I guess, a more positive word is strategic, and
That's what shrewd
and how your decisions are
Correct.
Cunningly strategic.
cunningly strategic.
Cunningly strategic.
Yes, strategic is a better word than is a good word like to explain shrewd. Yes.
See, we shouldn't be looking to have a exit
Shrewd has a
plan.
negative connotation. That's why
It does. It does.
So yes, Jesus was commending his
shrewd because it was shady
what
what he did.
But that's what he was dealing with. This is what he was dealing with. This is what he had to work with. He was.
Yeah,
he knew what he had to work with.
yeah.
You know, this is what the brother did.
Thank
and
you for taking the time.
Bradley, well, yeah.
I was struggling.
I was trying to wrap my mind around verses, the same chapter, verses 19 to 31.
Okay.
It's talking about
Lazarus.
the parable for the rich man and Lazarus. It's talking about the dude Lazarus who was poor, he's a beggar. Dictated the whole thing, how he was sitting outside the city gate and he had dogs came and licked his sores, but when he had passed away, he was carried to Abraham's bosom, whereas the rich dude went to Hades. And he begged that, what's it, let me find out where it says it. He said, I beg you therefore, Father, that you would send him to, oh, that's later, I'm sorry. Christ, Father, have mercy on me. Send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. That's verse 24. But he said, but Abraham said, Son, remember that in your lifetime you received your good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted and you are tormented. And besides all this, between us and you there is a great gulf fixed, so that those who want to pass from here to you cannot, nor can those from there pass to us. And so because of that, he asked if he could go get a word to his brothers who are still alive. And he's like, your brothers got, they got the law of Moses and the prophets, and they're not going to hear anything from you. And he's like, neither will they hear or be persuaded. They won't be persuaded by them. So if they're not persuaded by them, they're surely not going to be persuaded by one of the dead. I was just trying to wrap my mind around like what he meant by this whole parable. I guess what the gist of it was, or what the moral of it was. I couldn't understand it. I mean, you talked about the dude Lazarus who was poor, had a rough life. Apparently, he must have done a bunch of bad stuff because he said he received evil things. You know what I'm saying? But now he is in Abraham's bosom, which I'm assuming is like heaven. And the dude who was well off, who was rich, he is now being tormented. So he must have gained his riches through wickedness or through shrewdness.
It's talking about, it's right after he's talking about how the Pharisees love all the money that they.
Right, it's coming right
So
after that.
So I'm assuming the correlation is that this guy, this rich man, are the
He might be a Pharisee.
are the Pharisees.
Yeah.
In the story, he's likening him to the Pharisees.
Okay. So this is pretty much just a warning to them.
Yeah, so verse 14 is like, now the Pharisees who were lovers of money were listening to all these things and scoffing at him, capitalized. And he said to them, you are those who justify yourselves in the sight of men, but God knows your hearts, for that which is highly esteemed among men is detestable in the sight of God.
Right.
And the law of the prophets were proclaimed until John. Since that time, the gospel of the kingdom of God has been preached, and everyone is forcing his way into it. But it is easier for heaven and earth to pass away than for one stroke or letter of the law to fail.
My Bible has this note on the story starting in 19. He said this story extends the previous discussion on wealth from verse 1 to 13, as well as the criticism of the Pharisees who loved money. The lesson is clear. Wealth does not guarantee a place in the kingdom of God. While the rich man wrongly relied on his wealth, There is no list of Lazarus' virtues. The story focuses on the reversal that God himself brought about. He has filled the hungry with good things, but sent the rich away empty.
The rich get screwed in the Bible.
Not all of them.
And the poor, like even, I think there was a couple verses in here, like it talks about, and I think it's in James and all that kind of stuff. It really, like, there's a lot of value placed on the poor and treating the poor well.
Yeah. They're in need. They're the easiest to go serve.
It's a bunch of liberals.
Yeah. And then the part about Moses and the prophets is like, you know, to make it to the kingdom there's a faithfulness component, and it's not based on how you live. I mean, this condition of your life on the other side.
Sure.
Which is
how the Pharisees
perceive it.
Yes.
Yes, that's how they perceive it. God is blessing me because I'm doing well, so that means I'm in a good place because I'm doing well.
Man, I think it was a vicious curse that was laid on the Bible in 31 though. I mean, you got to say Abraham said unto him, they had Moses and the prophets. Let them hear them. And he said, nay, Father Abraham, but if one went unto them from the dead, they would repent. And he said unto them, if they hear not Moses and the prophets, neither would they be persuaded though one rose from the dead. I think that was Christ implying that even after his death, they still not gonna want to hear what he got to say. They got Moses. You know what I'm saying? What good is it gonna do for Moses to come back from the dead?
Well, he's not talking about Moses. He's talking about the writings. He's talking about the Bible. He's talking about the scriptures.
To come from the dead?
He's talking about let them listen to Moses and the prophets.
Right. As far as what's already been written.
What's already been written.
Right. But the dudes say, man, all right, send us somebody from the dead.
Right.
Let Moses come back and tell us himself, is what I perceive that to say.
No, you're just saying let somebody who was dead tell them what the other side actually was.
Okay.
So they have the scriptures, but they're not really going to pay attention to the scriptures because it's the scriptures. Right. If somebody come back from the dead and say, I went to the other side and I saw it, and he's saying if they're not listening to Moses, they ain't going to listen to you.
Gotcha.
Right.
Makes sense.
So he was giving it to them throughout this whole thing. One of the questions I had was chapter 11. Luke, yeah.
Before you join, just add Daryl's comments. He said, are these two parables an example of what Jesus is talking about in terms of using the mammon of unrighteousness for the purpose of bringing the salvation of souls? Both of these stories are shady and not exactly doctrinally sound. Are we as comfortable as Jesus in terms of using secular resource to make spiritual statements to guide us in this life? Well, you know I am. Because I did that.
Yeah.
But yes, that's a good point, Darryl. A lot of us are uncomfortable doing that.
Jesus
Take lessons from...
Yeah, no.
Man,
I mean, I
Jesus
think that's where, even that, my struggle was that, you know...
This lesson was so shady.
How is it?
How's the spiritual value in it?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Kenneth. You're saying Luke 11?
Luke 11...
Chris added, in both stories, God uses commonly believed misconceptions to illustrate godly principles. Mm-hmm. He would deal with the misconceptions at another time. These stories are lessons in how to do ministry. That's what Chris is adding to the conversation. Go ahead, Kenneth. Chapter 11.
So he's going after the Pharisees throughout this entire chapter. And it's a long chapter. And the entire time he's going after it. But like, I had a question. So in verse 47 at the end, it was like, woe to you because you build tombs for the prophets and it was your ancestors who killed them. So you testify that you approve of what your ancestors did. They killed the prophets and you build their tombs. Because of this, God in his wisdom, I will send the prophets and apostles, some of whom they will kill and others they will persecute. Therefore, this generation will be held responsible for the blood of all prophets that has been shed since the beginning of the world, from the blood of Abel to the blood of Zechariah, who was killed between the altar and the sanctuary. Yeah. Yes, I tell you, this generation will be held responsible for it all. And I'm like, how? Like, were these dudes, like, did he despise, like, he hated those guys this much?
They was
Were
rejecting
they
them,
that?
right?
Were they that bad?
I think that's ultimately what it was. Because I mean, when it came to Christ, like repeating what had already been prophesied about, it doesn't get no more fulfillment than Christ coming and saying it himself. Everything he did was for the fulfillment of prophecy. So if they ain't hearing it from him, then it's just like them rejecting everybody from Christ all the way back. People. That's why the blood is on their hands. It's like you've got all these people come and tell you all the things that I'm fulfilling and doing right now. It should be no strange thing to you. He always asked the scribes and the Pharisees and the Sadducees. It's like, have you rereading the scriptures and you don't know the power of God or what the scriptures mean? It's like you have all this knowledge for all this time, you still don't get it. And it's like because you reject me, it's like you rejected me and everybody else who came before me as well. Because it is going to be no more. There is going to be no one greater than he who is in front of you right now, which is Christ. So because of that, it's.
But I'm very literal and he's like, Cain killed Abel.
Mm-hmm.
Like these dudes didn't kill Abel, and he's like, I'm putting his blood on your hands. Like he's going back, and he's just like at this point, just vengeful.
And the same
like
malice.
Like he's like everything's on y'all.
It was.
But it's to the point that Bradley is making, because Abel bore witness of sorts to the message that Jesus is bringing, and all these other guys have bore this message. It's like the parable Jesus tells of, he goes to receive something from the people that he chose, and he sends this one, he sends this servant, and he sends this servant, and then eventually he says, I'm gonna send my son because they'll hear him.
Yeah,
and they'll hear him.
Yeah.
Like he said, there's nobody greater to come after him. So it's like you've killed all of them because he's telling you what they all said, and he's the greatest one.
You want to know why he's going in like that? Because, right, it's almost like they're blaspheming against the Holy Ghost in the Holy Ghost's face in the form of Christ. And the reason why I say that is it's like the truths that he is making and the way he's making it clear, it can be made no more clearer than how Christ made it.
Sure.
But for you to still be obstinate and reject him and out of the hardness of heart, it often said that when he was in their assembly, they would send their spies and they would send the people to come on.
It was more conniving. Like it was more like
he would perceive their thoughts, and he was like, "Why do you test me? Why do y'all just try so hard to kick against the goads? You know what I'm saying? To go against what I'm saying because of this hardness of your heart. That's why if you are treating me this way, there's no way you would hear one of the prophets. There's no way. So because of that, it's going to be the blood from all them leading up to me because of the hardness of your own heart. It's like, I'm giving it to you the rawest it can be given. This is as clear as the kingdom of God is going to be given to you. All you got to do is accept it. See all these people? They've been following you for all this time. So the question is, why won't you give it up? It's because of pride.
that makes sense.
We're in a position of power now. The people got to come to us for the law, for the understanding of the law, for the teaching and ways. Here comes this dude who's teaching us completely different from whatever we've been teaching them. So now people are following him. The jealousy and the protection of their own pride got in the way. It's like, we ain't even hearing you no more. You taking away our power, which we love.
And here's the irony. We just read Psalm 78 that gave a review of the children of Israel before the exile, right?
Mm-hmm.
After the exile, they tried so hard to put away the idolatry that their parents had before that they made a purified nation where they had all these extra laws to make sure they never go back to that.
Yeah,
and the irony is, with all that ritual purity, because they didn't have any idolatry, physical idolatry like the ancestors had, they were even worse, almost, than their ancestors in their pursuit of God.
Yeah.
Wow.
How can we take man-made methods to assure ourselves that we don't go back to this again? Let's add to the law, add to the law, add to the law, and let's make it so the way that proliferated. You understand why they did it. They did it in good intention, but they held on too tight, to that which God had not given them.
But it shows.
It's they put the emphasis on the wrong syllable,
right. And they had the whole history. It wasn't like it wasn't like they had they were new to it. They were so schooled in the doctrines, and so knowledgeable about the teachings that they shouldn't have been that clueless about what was happening. Should not have been.
It was stupid.
but because they had the information.
Well, and I think
And
that's,
they knew the history.
that's it. I mean, there's a lot of times, you know, even like my wife, like she argues with me because I'm a very logical person, and like she'll argue with me, and we'll be going back and forth. I'm like, it just doesn't make sense. Like it should be A, B, C, and D. And like at the end of the day, she's like, yeah, but like there's love, like. Like sometimes this doesn't have to be logical. Like it could just be love. And I'm like, no, like no, it can't. But it's right. Like you can go through, like you guys are saying, you can create laws to get, in theory, that should get you to where you should be, to where you are doing everything that you're supposed to do in order to make sure you're honoring this person, but you never honor, you forget about the person, and you're so caught up in doing the ABCD, these logical things.
Because he even tells the disciples, people will kill you thinking that they're serving God.
Yeah.
And they don't even know God.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have Pharisees that converted and follow Christ lets me know that when he leans on them like that, he's not talking to the individual, he's talking to the institution that they have in place. He was condemning it. Every chance he got, he condemned it as being false. It's not right. I'm right here in front of your face. Y'all want to keep doing that. The prophets told you about me. You know what I'm saying? I'm right in front of you. You still want to talk about what the prophets is talking about. Man, I wash my hands of y'all. What do you say? Your house is left under you desolate. What else could he do? He was about to die for everybody, including them. And they didn't even want to acknowledge him. That's who he said he was. What else? What you want to do? What else do you want to do? He's done everything that he could do for them people. He was supposed to lean on them to call them hypocrites and vipers and whitewashed sepulchres and all of that. They deserved it.
Imagine the most spiritually pure people in terms of their faithfulness to the law.
To the law.
Were the worst of the bunch. That's the irony. They were worse than the ones who were, or just as bad.
Well, they
were just as bad as the ones who were worshiping other gods.
Well, yes and no, and it was probably worse because we made the point. I think it was last year when we were reading and Jesus was like, he was going into synagogues casting out demons. Like
the demons were in the synagogues.
Yeah.
Demons in the church.
Yeah. Period.
Yeah.
So it just tells you.
That's what said Ezekiel said, look behind the walls and see worse abominations.
Yeah.
So this isn't new. What's going on in these churches? It's been going on since before Jesus' time. People doing what they want to do, lovers of themselves, trying to get money, you know, get a name for themselves, prestige, power, anything about service for real.
Like I was telling the kids the other week, reading about that. Like what he said, in I think it's Matthew. It's either Matthew chapter 23 or 24. He's like the worst condemnation falls upon them. Because he's like, not only do you not get into the kingdom, but you lock the gate for those who might enter it, but you leading them astray. He's like, it's like that's like the worst thing you could do. Not only you doing wrong, but you leading other people to do wrong. And you know it's right.
Yeah.
That's bad, man. I'm like, how could you do that in the face of God who's going to put something on it? Like you can't, if he puts judgment and condemnation on you, can't escape it. You cannot escape it. If he chooses to put
especially now, because they like, I'm taking you all the way out. Like,
that's why I can't give you
all this.
I can't give you no advice. People don't like me, I'm going to come from the Bible.
Daryl asks, so is this a lesson for me, Jared? No need to sweat the concern of whether I'm being faithful to the nit-grit. Being faithful. The nit-grit could make you forget the relationship. The relationship is what matters. Daryl, I would agree that is potentially what's happening or could happen. Me, I'm seeing this faithfulness is not just to the nit-grit but to the relationship. And so where I was upset was I know that he doesn't like something, and I'm not doing it anyway. It's like, you know, I'm going to use Kenrick's example just because it's an easy example. You know Joel don't want you to put the towel on the bed.
Oh my gosh.
And you just keep putting the towel on the bed. You just keep putting the towel on the bed. You know it irritates her. You know it upsets her. But it's just easy for you. It's convenient for you, and you turn around and forget it.
Or you're mindless.
Or it's no big deal.
You don't even care.
Yeah, you don't even care, right? And so that's where those things were for me. You know, I'm like, I see where he gives me the out, and he reminds me, hey, dude, you know, it ain't gonna take you but 90 seconds, 2 minutes to run that water pick through your mouth. It ain't gonna take you that long. I was like, nah, dude, I just want to go in my bed. You know, so for me, that's faithfulness to the relationship and not faithfulness to the thing. And it's like almost like, for example,
But it's almost faithfulness to like it's. He's not asking you to floss.
no, no.
This is something
That's what I
you're
was gonna
saying.
say.
I want to floss,
That's what I was.
and you're putting it on him.
No. I want to be a faithful steward of everything that he's given me. He's given me a mouth, and he's shown me ways that
Yeah,
I
but
can.
you're saying you want to floss. He's not asking you to floss.
But you flossing might be like all them extra.
Are you being a faithful steward if you don't floss?
I see what he's saying.
Yes. No, I'm not.
Or why not? What I'm saying is,
You're taking the best care of
you're
your teeth you
taking
could.
it's something that it's a burden on you to floss because you want
with
you
me.
want to be a faithful steward.
Stay with me. We are saved by grace through faith.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yet we
Faith without
are
works.
rewarded for the things that we do, whether for good or for evil.
Sure.
All right? Because the things that you do demonstrate your faith.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this Fitbit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Fitbit is a way for me to meet certain goals in terms of, because I've determined I am concerned that I am undertaking, or I have faith. And I'm gonna use. I don't have faith in the fitness, but I have faith, and my faith is likened to saying publicly, "I am committed to fitness." Right? I am committed to being the healthiest person I can be. That's my commitment. Right? The Fitbit tracks. They have some markers that they're just indicators.
You get ribbons and whatever.
Forget that. I can go through my week and see how many times I've met my goals.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That thing tells you that.
Yeah. I can see if I ran 30 minutes a day for my set goal of 5 days a week. Right? Stay with me. Don't lose me just yet. If I was to go through the record of the goals or my trend line, just my trend line, not hitting it all the way, but my trend line, does my trend line demonstrate that commitment that I professed?
No.
Yeah.
No. Nah, because people cheat with them things all the time.
So
Yeah,
yes.
no. You sitting here.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? You
yes,
got running.
yes,
But yes,
you
no,
could.
trend line,
You can't pay
yes.
attention to that.
I'm just saying,
It does.
Nah, it's not
yeah.
worse.
Given that you're honest.
yes, given that you're honest.
Okay, well,
But
nice. Say that.
given that you're honest.
Given
Right?
that you're honest,
Given that
your
you're
trend
honest, I would
line
say
does
yes.
demonstrate
Correct.
your faithfulness.
And that's all I'm saying with this. My trend line has not been demonstrating my faithfulness to him. And even though I am identifying in these things, I am recognizing the heart issue that's manifesting as not flossing. It's the heart issue that's manifesting as not calling. It's the heart issue that's manifesting as being on Facebook.
But sometimes that trend line doesn't indicate properly. So my thing is this.
Yes, but
If I come down and like your teeth fall out in a month,
Stay with
and
me.
you're flossing and you're brushing your teeth and you're being faithful, it could still, there's another underlying problem it could be.
Right, but I'm only addressing not the flossing itself, but what the not flossing is a sign of for me.
Sure.
The not flossing is a sign of I want to do what I feel to do when I want to feel to do it, how I feel to do it, and it manifests right now as flossing.
Yes.
It used to manifest as promiscuity, but right now it manifests in flossing.
And
So it's
Vanessa
just
appreciates that.
what? Yeah, she appreciates that. Yes, she does.
She's like floss dog.
Right? And so it's not so much a matching of the
Oh,
thing
man.
itself.
I
But
got
I'm
you.
looking at these things in my life and seeing how I am in this place of constantly not wanting to do that. And I'm saying to him, "What can you help me do it?" And he's saying, "I've given you everything that you need to do it. You just need to choose now."
Yes.
You just need to choose now. And that's where it was.
Yeah.
And so I'm
No,
saying,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm with you.
Shoot.
I'm with you.
Just need to choose.
yeah. It's not the action. It's not the action. I'm realizing that it could be flossing today and something else tomorrow. I could start flossing every day.
But it is the action, not the specific thing. But it's your action in choosing and doing what it is that you're supposed. Because I can't floss for you.
I can't floss for you.
He could, dude. You fed dudes with
Right.
birds.
But it's not about the flossing.
Yes, but it's about you doing it.
It's about my submission to his will.
And at some point, so to that point, going back,
Because if he can't trust me to floss,
yeah,
he can't use me like he did Orlando. The only reason he could use Orlando is because when God said, Orlando walked down the street, Orlando said, okay, and he walked. And then he said, walk a little further. Pray for those people. And yes, I know there are times when Orlando drops the ball and God uses him anyway because God is working with him. But I'm talking about the faithfulness to the response. I have been, Jared, not responding consistently in little insignificant things. And that's why the verse that stood out to me is that he's faithful in little, can be faithful to much. I want him to use me like he's using Orlando, and he's saying, dude, you can't even floss your teeth. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's interesting too, because you got a lot of people running around trying to do all the good in the world for people, and it might be getting on people's nerves. One thing I've asked the Lord constantly to do is like, man, you send me somebody. You want me to talk to somebody? Let somebody come to me and ask me a question. Engage me in a conversation, because I'm not the dude to just run down on people talking to them. So I know if he say make a move like that, I know it's him. I could have said no. I didn't have any intention on going to Anacostia Park, but I heard it clearly. Go to Anacostia Park. There's been times where I see somebody and something to say something to this person. Like, I don't say nothing. I was telling Brad one time, I'm sitting at Greenbelt Station. 3 dudes got off the bus. I'm sitting there reading, kicking it with the Lord. These 3 dudes got off the bus and stood behind the bus stop. Man, they look like villains. You know what I'm saying? I was telling Brad, they just came from on the move. You can see it in their eyes. You know what I'm saying? Tattoos on their face. Probably was smart. I mean, they just looked worldly. For lack of a better way to put it. I know that they only come out at night. I'm surprised to see them during the day. Holy Spirit was like, go back there and ask them if they made the decision yet. I was like, man, one of them jokes, be like, what's up, son? What you mean if I made my... I don't know how I would have reacted to that. I don't know. But what'd you tell me? Who was it? Lamar? Damon? Somebody was like, man, you don't even worry about it. I think it was you. I think I was talking to you. Or it might have been Brian. I don't know, whoever I was talking to was like, man, you don't even worry about that in that moment. No, it was you. You said you'll get the opportunity again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't concern yourself with how a person going to receive you, or don't let any type of fear come into play as far as like how the person's going to react. But that was one time he told me to make a move, and I'm like, nah. You know what I'm saying? I mean, nah, that dude don't look right. You know what I'm saying? Jokers don't look right at all, man. I should have been able to relate to them. You know what I'm saying? But I was of a mindset. I'm like, I'm kicking it with the Lord right now. These dudes get off the bus and they just post up right behind the bus. I'm like, I could feel the synergy coming off of them. I'm like, man, some jokers just got finished doing.
Right.
What are they doing? Why does I feel like it? Because I was probably supposed to go in the midst of it and have a conversation. What does synergy mean?
Brad crazy.
What's that word?
I meant it in dual meaning. Synergy is when it's you have a connection with somebody. Energy is back and forth. It's equal.
It was like
It could have been what it was too. Then it could have been connected with something that was in me. I didn't get mad at me.
I find it though, Jared. Though, just like what he's stating, there have been, I'm sure, many instances for both of us. Has been like either sometimes we react, we do it. Sometimes we like nah. Or sometimes we hesitate and the moment passes. Like see, it's gone. But then I had the wherewithal to tell him, "Oh, the Lord will bring it back around. He ain't gonna let you just get off that."
So you didn't do it?
Yeah. Well, there have been times where I didn't, or the window has closed. Like there's somebody I'm supposed to talk to, and then before I know it, that person is out of my sphere. I'm out of theirs. I ain't gonna never see him again. That type of thing. But then it comes back around. The thing is, I find myself more open to be used when I'm completely devoid of self, and I've been hammering myself personally. Like I've taken notice of all the times I didn't floss. Of all the times I didn't do what he said. When I'm in those particular, like right when I'm there, right around the corner, I'm talking about right around the corner, the Lord's like, hey, I I need you to go ahead with all that and head to your folk house real quick. Don't ask no questions. Make a U-turn. And I'm like, what? But since I'm in no mental or spiritual place to question him because I'm worried about my own self-worth, the very prospect of him giving me a chance to do something for him, I'm just like, huh? Oh, all right. Bet. You still rock with me like that? Let's go. And that's how my mind be. But it's because I'm at that point where it's like, man, I ain't worth nothing today. The Lord's gonna have to bleed some more for me today. I mean, that's a wild thing to say, but it's like that's how I'm thinking about it. Then he's like, hey, I got an order for you today. What's up? Okay. All right, yeah, let's do it. That's when it comes along. When I'm at that point. Because if things are going a little bit too well, as Christ knows the distinct problem that is sin within humanity, if things are going too well, I might not hear his voice. Mm-hmm. If the sun is always shining in the cloud and this is just like a clear blue sky, I might not hear him because I'll be too focused on all the good things that's going on around me. You know what I'm saying? Might not see somebody in need. Yeah.
When we at our weakest. That's when you can use us.
Agreed. I've experienced that. I've experienced that as well.
Wait till the camera go. I'm gonna tell y'all what happened.
It's humbling. It's humbling. I do want to shift gears one little bit.
Don't cut them cameras.
Because I know a lot of people, and there are a lot of people in my circle, and have been in my circle over time, who are experiencing a lot of difficult situations where they spend a lot of time crying, they spend a lot of time hurt, they feel a lot of time in distress, mental and emotional distress. Those people are in my circle, and I found reading the Bible that their situations are not unique. Like there are people in the Bible you can point to who had those similar experiences, and one of those experiences as I saw in Psalm 77. And what I wanted to point out was the approach of the person in Psalm 77 as a strategy that people who are in emotional, physical distress, can possibly take in to reduce the level of distress, the amount of distress that they're feeling, and to show that they're not alone. Because sometimes when you feel like your problem is unique and it's bigger than the whole world, sometimes it helps to know that you're not the only one who's experienced this, and so that there's hope for you. And so I wanted to point that out before we close out right quick, just in case there's anybody like that watching. So the psalmist Asaph says, I cried out to God for help. I cried out to God to hear me. When I was in distress, I sought the Lord. At night, I stretched out untiring hands, and I would not be comforted. So you can imagine that? Nighttime, you're praying, you're crying, you're praying, you're crying, and no comfort is coming. It's almost like God not hearing you, or it feels like God is not hearing you. Right? He says, verse 5, I remembered you, God, and I groaned. I meditated, and my spirit grew faint. So this person is praying, they're talking to God, they're seeking God, and they're still not experiencing any sense of relief, any sense of comfort, any sense of distress.
What does your verse 4 say? Because that's on crucial too.
Verse 4, I'm about to read it. You kept my eyes from closing. I was too troubled to speak. So sleepless nights. Sleepless nights they're experiencing, right?
But that's the first, from the beginning, what I see, thou holdest mine eyes waking, I am so troubled that I cannot. He says, my soul refused to be comforted. I remembered God and was troubled. I complained and my spirit was overwhelmed. This kind of stuff he's doing it himself.
Right, agreed. I'm not saying that it's God doing
it.
I'm just saying that they're doing it, and while they're doing it, they're reaching out to God. While they're doing it, they're praying. While they're doing it, they're crying, they're agonizing, and no relief, right? Or whatever they're doing. I thought about the former days of days long ago, the years long ago. I remembered my songs in the night. My heart meditated, and my spirit asked, will the Lord reject me forever? Will he never again show his favor? Like it's starting to sink into a level of hopelessness that God has forgotten about them, right? Has his unfailing love vanished forever? Has his promise failed me for all time? They start to get in that kind of fatalist mindset.
Yeah.
Has God forgotten to be merciful? Has he in anger withheld his compassion? So you're starting to wonder about what God doing, where is he, why is he not around, whatever. And this is the part that stood out to me. And then I thought, to this will I appeal. The years when the Most High stretched out his right hand. I will remember the deeds of the Lord.
Yeah.
Yes, I will remember your miracles of long ago. I will consider all your works and meditate on your mighty deeds. So I'm not seeing anything now. I'm not getting any distress now. But I will think about what you have done in the past. The ways you have led me and others. The way that you've worked. I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to draw my attention to that. And then what they do is they start to talk to God. Your ways, God, are holy. And it's a posture change. What God is as great as our God. Yes, my situation is what it is, but I know in whom I believe. You are the God who performs miracles. You display your power among the peoples. With your mighty arm, you redeemed your people, the descendants of Jacob and Joseph. And he may not even be talking about himself, even though he was a member of Jacob and Joseph. But he's pointing back to, I know God is able. I know what he can do. I know the God I serve. And I'm going to put my comfort in who he is, despite what I see. It's almost like what Anthony Brown says. I acknowledge what I feel. First couple of verses, I feel distressed, I feel hurt, I feel like I'm alone, but I'm gonna act on what I know. God has been. The waters saw you, God. The waters saw you and writhed. The very depths were convulsed. The clouds poured with water. The heavens resounded with thunder. Your arrows flashed back and forth. Your thunder was heard in the whirlwind. Your lightning lit up the world. The earth trembled and quaked. So he's just recounting all the things that God has done. Your path led through the sea, your way through the mighty waters, your footprints were not seen. And it was just this fancy language for the stories that he remembers. You led the people like a flock by the hand of Moses and Aaron. And you could almost feel like there's a level of comfort that comes by just staying in that space of who do I serve and where I am. And I want to encourage anybody who might be feeling like how this guy felt at the top of the book to kind of borrow a page from him and adjust your thoughts, adjust your lenses, adjust your focus to where God has been in your past, the thing that he has done. Even if it's not for you, because I know everybody's heard a story about something that God has done, even if it's from the Bible, and hold on to that, knowing that that's the God you serve, who has the power to take care of you in the midst of your circumstance. And I have found personally, not just like this guy has demonstrated, but me, Jared, when you adjust your lens like that, there's a measure of peace and comfort that comes. That gives you strength to deal with your circumstance so that you wake up the next day and the situation is still the same, but you don't feel like how you did yesterday because your perspective about it is different.
Can I also add to that it brings a sense of confidence and peace, is what you're talking, for you to speak out loud. For to say it audibly, because I was in that situation just the other night. I was telling old about on the phone. I could not sleep because something was on my mind. I was wrestling with it, and I knew it was a situation I had no control over. The outcome was completely devoid of anything I could ever do. So because of that, I just rebuked the thought of it that was on my mind, and I did it out loud. And I was like, Lord, you are still good. I still got a house, I got a roof over my head. I got a job. I got a car. You know what I'm saying? And I was thanking him for the many blessings he had on me. And right after that, I was able to go to sleep. But I said it out loud. I didn't just say it in my mind, because the whole time I was lying there wrestling with everything in my mind already. So I was just going to speak it. And once I spoke it out, that added to the peace and the power that I had over it. Like speaking that stuff out there in the Lord, something he asked you, say this, you believe it, say it out loud. It's like he was telling you, I love Jesus. I know Jesus. I love Jesus. Say it out loud. Let the devil hear you so he can run. Be scared of something.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that. True. Any last thoughts? Anything that stood out to anybody? One more thing before we go? Before we do our takeaways?
Well, I want to end talking about Ezekiel, man, because he was... I don't want to end talking about him.
You said you don't want to?
The stuff that stuck out to me, like when, like the fact I forgot about the fact that his wife died, and the Lord took away his tear ducts. He couldn't cry about it. And he was doing this as an example for for Israel, what was going to happen to them. Like he had to play the example before that happened. I was like, man, that's terrible. I was just reading through Ezekiel.
I haven't read that.
Me through this chapter.
The Lord said, so that you could properly explain to them
Yes.
what they're about to feel or
Yes.
experience. I'm going to let you experience it by taking your wife. I'm taking your wife as a lesson to them.
Oh,
and you
man.
cannot cry about it.
You can't go. He said he removed his eyelids or something like this. It's in Ezekiel chapter.
Not to cry, not to mourn.
Yeah, he couldn't do it.
And then he woke up the next day and his wife was dead.
Oh, man, Lord, don't never let me get to that point.
You know what's also amazing about
That's her
Ezekiel?
life. Like that's the whole reason for her existence.
Orlando's story that today kind of brought it out to me. God kept telling Ezekiel to do stuff, and you don't hear any response from Ezekiel except when God told him to cook his food with human dung.
Yeah.
And that's the only time Ezekiel goes, well, nah, I can't do that. Otherwise, for everything else, he just kind of says, all right, sure, no problem. Or if he has a problem, he doesn't verbally object. He just submits to do it. Except for that one thing.
Yeah, you tripping that. Look, I'm gonna be.
Man, look, nah. So I probably look like I'm crazy. I like smoking on Friday.
It's not just y'all.
Huh?
I'm just telling the audience, it's not just them. Like,
Nah, seriously.
Yeah, but that was what kind of stood out to me about Ezekiel. That he just kind of said, sure, whatever. God asks, you know.
It's a rough one though, man. The word of the Lord just came to him. He had to give it. He had to give it.
You know, something did jump out at me. Let me see. B. Micah 5:8 was 5:8. Right, and the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles, in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, the young lion among the flocks of sheep. All right, you talking about Ezekiel 19? It said, moreover, take thou up a lamentation for the princes of Israel, and say, what is the mother? A lioness. She lay down among lions. She nourished her whelps among young lions, and she brought up Ezekiel 19. She said, and she brought up one of her whelps that became a young lion, and it learned to catch the prey it devoured men. So, little note, a lioness. It took me to Micah 5:8, and Micah 5:8 says, and the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles. The remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, as a young lion among the flocks of sheep, who if he go through, both treadeth down and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver. Now this is what I saw. And I don't know if y'all know the context of this a little better. As a young lion, like us, say we're young lions among Gentiles, among sheep. You know what I'm saying? I'm watching on Discovery Channel these 3 male lions that growing up. You know what I'm saying? The fathers had left the pride, so they growing up, they eating, they get big and strong, they tussling, they playing too much. You know what I'm saying? They trampling over the smaller cubs, but they just playing. Can us sometimes, in our young, ignorant, lion-type ways, be so overzealous that we crushing the sheep and the people and the beasts, you know, young and the flocks of sheep who they go through. Like if you just go through there, you're gonna crush whatever it is that's around you. Like sometimes we just so aggressive that because we're lions, you know what I'm saying? Rightfully so. Our objective is to tear everything up, but in an organized manner, you know. But can you imagine a lion, a young lion, he ain't got his full mane yet, just jumping around, and everything he hit with his 300-400 pound body, he just break it down. But it's not because he wants to kill it or hurt it. I don't know why that jumped out at me, but it was like, you know, sometimes we cause a lot of people pain and hurt, and it ain't intentional. Mm-hmm. It's not because that's just like by nature. That's what we're put here to do, tear stuff up. We just gotta learn how to tear it up the right way.
Right.
I guess I got that from 19.
Good word.
Man, something jumping.
All right, well, we talked a lot, and it's about that time when we need to close up. So what we're going to do now is, you know, do our takeaways to give this conversation meaning for our lives beyond here. So it's not just good conversation. So I'm going to ask if you guys online could also share your takeaways as we share ours, because there's value in articulating it out loud so that you can take it with you beyond today. Bradley, you want to go first?
Sure. My takeaway is actually just a reconfirmation and a renewal to keep putting the Lord in my daily comings and goings, man, to strengthen the relationship. And He'll tailor me up in all the areas that I need tailoring in. And I mean, He's shown that He can do it before, and He's going to keep on doing it. He's going to keep me tailored up until the day of His return. And so, definitely to keep doing that. Because I saw myself when you testified, you know, because there's a bunch of stuff I'm slacking on. But I know how the Lord kicks it with me, man, and I need to involve Him. I can always talk to Him more. So,
Orlando? All the things we talked about was one thing you're going home with.
My takeaway, I would say, is the issue is our heart. We got a problem with our hearts. Our hearts are tainted. Anytime the Son of God can be in the presence of human beings and they still not be able to receive him in their hearts as being the Son of God, then there's something wrong with the human heart. When you can know you need to call your son, I can attest to that myself, and for whatever reason don't do it. It ain't necessarily, I don't think it's because you don't like him. You know what I'm saying? It's just there's something not right in here that needs to be worked on, and I believe because you expressed that the way you did tonight, he's gonna work on that with you just like he's been doing it with me. So I know my heart ain't right. My chest be hurting a lot anyway, but my heart ain't right. So I know I gotta get that heart together.
Kendrick?
There were two things I wrote down. It was just like all within like a 10-minute period. And it was both of y'all's testimonies. You know, it was like just expect God. Like, do things with the expectation. I guess we summed it up with the I guess even at the end of Psalms. I can't believe I'm saying it. Even at the end of Psalms, he started talking about what God did, and it was more almost like in anticipation of him doing that same thing for him.
Yeah.
So the expectation. And then the other thing was your thing. And I put, at what point am I responsible for doing it? As a, after asking for help. Like, at what point do I, does it not become, Lord help me? It's like, I'm giving you all the tools. Now you actually have to make the decision. So those are the two things I took.
So my takeaway was an encouragement from Bradley and Orlando. On those days when I recognize my unfaithfulness, not to stay there for too long, and understand that he wants me to pick up and do better, and not do better just because I'm trying to check things off a list, but do better in terms of honor my commitment to this relationship. Honor my commitment to the relationship.
You'd be surprised
in terms
if you
of
don't feel like
conversation,
ministering.
in terms of conversation and involvement, and just acknowledgement. I gotta think about when Vanessa wants something, and sometimes I don't feel to do it. Sometimes I don't, and I know she can hear me. Sometimes I don't, but I do it because I know it's important to her. And so I'm not checking things off the list. It's just I care about her and how she feels. I care about what she wants because that's important to me. So I'm gonna do it.
Right.
And that's the context in which I am. Those other things that I said I was not being faithful to. That's the context in which I'm feeling those things. And so when those things don't happen, he's not waiting with a big stick to beat me upside the head. Right. He's patient and loving, and to remember that. And you guys kind of encouraged me to keep that in mind. So that's my takeaway. All right. Anybody else wanted to share a takeaway right quick online? Just right quick. Anything that stood out to you from our conversations that you're going home with? Well, none so far. All right. Well, then let's pray. And we're gonna be here next on the first Friday. It's gonna be the ladies' first Friday, likely, because the ladies are committed to come. So we'll have a different kind of conversation. And let's pray. Orlando, would you pray for us?
Bow your heads. Heavenly Father, first of all, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to come before your presence. Thank you for the Sabbath. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to rest. I ask that the individuals who are joining us online receive the word from you and not just, I hope what we prayed, what we discussed find a lodging place in the ears of somebody that's listening. Forgive us for anything that we may have said or done that was not pleasing in your sight. I thank you for all of our experiences to this point in our life. And I pray that you continue to shape us and mold us so that we'll be suited for your kingdom when you return. Be with the brother Khalil that I met. Be with the situation that Brad worked out with his parents. I pray that everything is still moving in the same direction. Be with Jared and him being faithful in the smaller things, and I ask you to be with Kendrick and clear up whatever misunderstanding may be there in any part of your word. Again, forgive us for our sins and take us from this place safely. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
It is our prayer that this forum encourages you to spend more time in the Word of God, to see it as accessible, valuable, and meaningful, even the hard parts like Ezekiel. That's really what we hope that you get out of this conversation, that you're inspired to go and dig in it for yourself, and better equipped to do so. So till the next time, first Friday in November, Ladies First Fridays, we'll see you then. Download the reading plan if you don't have it. Get a copy. Hit me up, info@waterforthethirsty.com. We can get you a hard copy if you need it. Till next time, drink up.
Drink up. Drink up. Can I say sip something?
Like water when I'm thirsty. Drink like water when I'm thirsty. Drink like water when I'm thirsty. Drink.
This is water for the thirsty.
Water for the thirsty.
Water for the thirsty.
Water for the thirsty. Drink up.
Drink up. Hashtag Instagram, Facebook. We all there. Follow us. Tweet us. I have a mic on right now.
Been a hard weekend. It left me high and dry.